Hey y'all, it's Vanessa Love, and this is my channel about the mental health field and related topics. I think this is actually unrelated. Maybe I should change my intro to like mental health field and unrelated topics. So, I have a friend, and she is dating, and she has been telling me about her dating experiences. And she's had some concerning things come up that I'm like, I'm gonna talk about that. Like, that seems like something that, like, you just have to, like, tell people either, hey, don't do that, or you have to tell them, like, hey, here's an option. Okay. So, two things. One, I was really concerned for her. Um, there was someone, she went on one date with this person. He was an asshole. Like, he just, like, I have never, like, it's almost like, wow, okay, does that person just not leave the house? Like, why? Like, getting high in the restaurant bathroom, getting high before the, before meeting her, like, taking so long in the bathroom that she was like, I think he left. No, he was rolling a joint and then smoking it in the bathroom. um I, it's, I, like, I just, that is not anything that I've never heard a story like that. I really haven't, you know. Um, and then, when they were talking, and, they were like, oh, what kind of, like, sex stuff do you like doing? What he said he really, really, really wanted was to tie her up, like, almost like a reverse hog tie. And, like, she was explaining to me, she showed me some, like, things that, she was like, oh, this is one of the pictures. It looked concerning. Like, I don't know how to explain it. So basically, he would want her to have her wrists tied to her ankles. And she was uncomfortable with this, and I was telling her, like, totally understandable that you're very uncomfortable with this. This is, like, not a normal thing. Again, something I've never heard of people doing. Also, like, I, like, ended up in kind of a group of very, like, I don't even know, like, it's in New York. Let me explain that. It's in New York, of people who are poets, but they're also, like, very, like, open poets. And so they'll be like, oh, so and so is doing knot classes, so and so is doing, um, like, yoni classes. Someone is doing these, like, God, what do they call it? It was so funny. It was some nudity show or something, and it was like, you can be in the play or the play plus section. And I was like, this is interesting and weird. I don't know, what are we, okay. So, knowing that there is a community of people who are perfectly fine with showing you how to properly do not for sexual purposes, like, I'm like, hey, so, like, does this person know about these things? Like, have they had an experience with, like, an actual person who is training them how to do this properly for sexual positions? Because, like, in sex you can't just use anything, and this is kind of like what is, like, sex educators and sex therapists kind of, like, go into, of like, hey, you think you're gonna use a silk scarf or something and it's gonna be really cute, please don't. Like, let's make sure that you know how to do this properly. That will not be will not be, not, like, necessarily upsetting to your partner, but will be to the benefit of your partner, because it will be very comfortable. And so, like, this is a very big and, like, it's like a sensitive subject too, obviously. So, it didn't sound like he had. She had expressed her concerns. I was like, hey, this is a stress position. And she was like, I think it might be. And for me, like, I don't know if it's, like, my body type or something, because I'm like, well, I have, like, an extra bone back here, so, like, my bronchioles, like, feel like they could, like, in the wrong positions, like, I can't necessarily do, like, cobra position, like, very easily, because it feels like it starts to, like, cut off like my airwave. So, like, I'm very sensitive to anything that could be, like around my throat, right? Like that could lead to me not breathing properly, you know. And I was like, this is a stress position, you know, like it would be stressful on your knees, it'd be stressful like on your bronchioles. And I just like tried the position just to like kind of figure out like, oh, am I making too much of this? And no, I'm not. It's a very uncomfortable position. There's that, I don't know if there's any way to like properly do it in a safe way that would be comfortable for a person. And you know, for this guy to like be like, it sounded kind of forceful, like, and also not admitting that this is a stress position. um like it just, I was very uncomfortable to the point where I'm like, do we have to report this person? Like, this just seems like, hi, let me tell you up. And like, not in a normal, regular way, you know, like, oh, well, you know, I do it this way, I do this safely, I've done this, you know, and no way to really like tell her that he can do it safely. That all of that is very concerning. And, you know, like the disrespect the disrespect over time and like of the restaurant laws. I'm like, I just think that this person is on a path that is gross and like not okay. And it was very as I've said, it's very concerning to me. It's very concerning. There was no like acknowledgement of like, this is something that this person feels uncomfortable with, let me like not mention it, or like let's revisit it, you know, when we've been in a relationship for longer, or you know, whatever we're doing, you know, like. So yeah, that was weird. So I would say that my friend is a feminist. She is, but like, I don't want to like categorize feminists as any particular way, because that's just not true. So she is someone who is very free of her expression, and she chooses not to shave. And with dating, she has found many men who are insistent on it, like will not meet with her because she's like, you know, they're like, hey, shave before we meet. This is they've said it to her, shave before we meet, shave, because I like it that way. And there's so much politics around this, and like opinions and like things like this, where I'm like, you know, my first thought is, I think that person watches too much porn, because the reason that you know, some of those like shaving things took off is because of corn and corn standards. And yeah, it's easier to, you know, get a good video of a sex act if there's no hair there. The other thing is that like, it was very much actually pushed by the razor companies in like the 1930s, I believe. It might be the 1920s. I think it's the 1930s, where it was like, modern women, they shave. And so like that kind of took off. There was no like other real reason, like, and you know, they like, some of the men keep on going, but it's hygienic. It's hygienic. It's hygienic if you do it. It's hygienic. And I don't think that this is a group project. I don't think that this is something that is discussed. I am like completely surprised that the audacity of someone, oh, we're eventually gonna have sex, you should shave. Like, excuse me. What? Wow. Okay. That's a thing that came through your texts. Like, what? That's so, like, and it's really interesting that it's like, it has to be this hygienic thing. And it's like, okay, I mean, honestly, with the human body, it's not hygienic. It actually opens you up to more infections, and like, is not sorry, it's just funny to me. It opens you up to more infections. It's not actually hygienic. Like, it's just a preference. And like, if someone, like, what I find very interesting is that the people who do shave will be like very anxious if they don't shave. The anxiety that comes from that, and I wish that they would kind of challenge it, because like I've heard stories of women being like, I'm gonna shave before I have a baby because it's not gonna look good. The doctor's gonna judge me. Doctors doesn't care. The doctor is just trying to make sure that you're like safe and like that you're safe while you're giving birth. Like this isn't about their opinions on whether or not you shave, you know, and like you know, maybe you don't want to go to a doctor that is going to be like, wow, didn't shave, you know, which like my friend has said like that's not something that she's ever experienced. So like, okay, so it's such a weird thing because like we have how many years of existence without doing anything, and it has not been this like the, this hygienic thing, and then the razor companies convince people that it is more hygienic, or that it, you know, it's the modern lady who does this and it takes off, and then like it just continues, and it's just, it's very surprising, you know. And also that like there is like there had been a lot of shame around like people who shave and people who don't, and like making sure that like there is like, it's such a weird, it's like, oh, okay, um it's like when I worked at the group home, like there were women there discussing the there were two times I remember about hair and shaving. One girl who was like getting to be 18 but still was, I believe, 17. They were like, oh, I saw her bush one day, it was so disgusting. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. Like, right. So a 17-year-old who is traumatized should not be shaving and should not be shamed into it either. That's gross. The other part of that is that they made fun of one girl because like she spent so much time in the shower, and it was like, oh yeah, because she has to shave every part of her. And it's like, and this is not a discussion with her. This is not a, hey, you have a choice here. Hey, like, where did you possibly learn this behavior? Like, it's okay if you don't, like, you don't have to do, you don't have to do any of this. Also, maybe as a, like, everyone there was still a teenage girl, right? Like, 19 and under, like, it's a teenage girl. Maybe you don't have to say yes to any sexual activities at this point because, you know, like, this may not be in your best interest, you know. So like maybe just try other types of dates with this person. You know, like, why are we not having those conversations? You know. But like, yeah, there was all this stuff that happened that like, you know, it's so interesting to have the politics of hair. You know, because it's like, what do you mean there's politics? What do you mean there's politics of hair? You know, and all of these other things. It's just such a like an interesting thing. And I would actually ask anyone who, you know, is so so, what is that called? Who is so like has a lot of anxiety, is so anxious about having like any sort of like hair, to just like challenge that and like see if they still believe in that. Because like, you know, people who I knew maybe, you know, as like a teenager, if they're still in that phase, like I would like them to, you know, just like not be in that phase. Like, oh, you know, what would you have to do to feel comfortable with like going out without shaving your legs? Like what does that look like for you? And like, could you ever imagine yourself you know, like going outside without your, like going outside with shorts without your legs shaved? You know, what would that be like for you? Because like things have changed. It's okay to reevaluate, you know. It's like it's already there's already a lot of like mental space going to a lot of different things. If something comes off of your list that you have reevaluated and been like, actually, I don't feel like I have to give this any more thought, do that. You know, like do that. But I also understand if like it's still gonna be anxiety inducing and like you don't want to go through that. All right, cool. But I'm just saying, reconsider. You know, like see if there's any part of you that like wants to challenge that and wants to experience it because of a shift in culture that is complete like that for a lot of people it's completely okay to be a person, to be a human who has hair. Yeah. Because man, that was like, whew, let's challenge some cultural standards, I guess. Anyway, I hope that was at least informative for you. Sorry, it's just funny to me. And I will talk with you soon. All right, have a good one.